There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. Simple as that. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. I know you're fed up, and life won't let up for us. All they talk about is what's been going down, what's been messed up for us. But when I look around, I see blue skies, I see butterflies for us. Listen to the sound and lose it in sweet music and dance with me, 'cause there is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. Yeah, there is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. Yeah, but we need more loving, we need more money. They say the change is gonna come like the weather. They say forever. They say, baby, in between, notice the blue skies, notice the butterflies, notice me, and listen to the sound and lose it in sweet music and dance with me, 'cause there is beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world, so much beauty in the world. Yes, there is. Chorus all together here. There is beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world. So much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world. So much beauty in the world. There is beauty in the world. So much beauty in the world. Story. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see you. A couple cool things. I'm seeing Gary's walking without a crutch. That's fabulous. Or a cane. Yes, yes, yes. Today is Wendy's birthday. Very cool. So we got all kinds of good things. And Jody's here today in the house. Wonderful. Good to see you, dear. So hello, everybody here, and hello to all of you in the virtual world as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you guys so much for being here this morning, too. I know it's kind of one of those mornings where it felt like wouldn't it be nice just to sit with a pot of tea and a good book. So you chose to come here, and I'm grateful for that. I chose to come here, and I'm grateful that I'm here, too. So how you doing, Jim? How was class this morning? Good. You guys are still doing the whole, you're doing the Dao De Jing? Nice. So for those of you who want to do a Sunday school kind of thing with the Dao De Jing, Irreverend Jim is doing that at 8:30 on Sunday mornings. 9, like I said, 9. And Lee, you did a house concert last night, yes?
House concert yesterday, had a little restaurant gig last night. Yeah, keeping busy with music, and a middle schooler just graduated, so that was
yes.
And yes, and got his first cell phone. So
his first cell phone, right?
Yeah,
on.
so a big week. In the
Very good, exciting stuff. I saw on Facebook the two of you guys baking a cake.
Yes, we made the cake for his. He signed me up. He said the day before this party. He said, "And we're making the cake for my friend's birthday." It's like, oh, we don't even have like cake
cans or anything. So it was a fun day ordeal of just being present. The start of summer break was a great way to kick it off.
Fabulous. Yeah. And good morning, Andrea. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Good.
All is good.
And everybody here is good? Anything going on? Trying to think if we have any announcements coming up. I don't think so, coming down the line. Other than we're going into summer, which is good. We do have, we have prayer ministry. So prayer, I was thinking about that today. Every Friday morning, the practitioners get together online and we pray for all the requests that come in and then any other kinds of things that are going on. So, and what I'm aware of is other people are just kind of like tuning in on the swirly side. So 7:30 Friday morning, if you put in a prayer request, know that we are praying for you, and you can join by just being quiet at 7:30 and just knowing that the practitioners are there in prayer.
Yeah, and any of your friends, anyone you think, just pop us a note yourself, and we would love to put your name. Say your name aloud. We do it all for Hilltop Center anyway.
And Points Beyond, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, Paul has a meditation at 1 o'clock on Wednesday afternoons. That's a sweet little gig. If you want a little midweek, just a little sangha there, that's happening. So, but prayer is our big thing, right? So fill out a prayer request, see a practitioner, however you want to do it. Also check out the Open Mind gift shop. Good things are going on there. There's getting new merchandise, and I know I'm looking back there and I see the three Graces. There's Noreen and Sherry and Patty. So check. I
love that.
I was going to say check them out, but that's I'm not going to say that because check out the store and you'll see them there. So, gosh, look at that. It's only been 7 minutes and I'm already saying things I shouldn't be saying or should be saying differently. So I think with that, Andrea, we will let you pray us in and begin their service.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's do this. So I welcome you all to just settle into your seats. Let me bring our consciousness through our bodies and through our breath to all that is. And we'll give ourselves a moment to connect with our bodies and drop our thinking down into our hearts. How about that? Just drop down, ground down, feel presence right here and now. So I offer this to the Divine Beloved, which lives and breathes within each and every one of us, that I am that we are that these teachings and the essence of these teachings are that. The truth is, I am that I am. You know that. Each of us knows that. So we bring in this consciousness of love and generosity and goodness. We become more and more aware that we're not alone here. That beyond the beyond is all things, everything that ever was, that ever has been. So I am grateful for this moment. I am grateful for your consciousness that adds to my consciousness, that makes us one. I am grateful for the beauty of life and the nature that we breathe in every day. Take care of ourselves. So with that, this service is blessed. We are here igniting the flame of love, the truth in the words and the song, in our own presence right here and now. So I call all of this into being by saying, may it be so, and so it is. So the reading today is by Peter Kingsley, and it goes like this. We like to think that it's we who are treading the path, progressing, being transformed. But that's not the case at all, because it's not our ego that walks the path. It's our higher self, the hidden divine reality inside us. It was never about us. It was always about the sacred. Yeah, So we breathe that in. And we take a moment as we take those words in and parts of that and all of that that spoke to us and continue to speak to us through an awareness of loving kindness. That we've been offering this metta practice for some time now that brings us into this place of oneness with each other, and we start with I am. I am loving awareness. Right. I am well. I am peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. Yeah. And then we have our prayer circle that we do all the time, but sometimes people don't speak up. You may know somebody. You may have somebody in your heart that you're praying for this day, that you heard through the wind, that they are looking for your prayer, that they are needing some support. And how beautiful it is that we extend our love out. So in your mind's eye, in your heart, be open to that one. Whomever that is, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. And in a united whole, for Hilltop, for all beings in all ways, for all love and all life, we say, may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. So into this space that exists all things, there is energy everywhere. There is energy all around you, right here and now. We are not alone as we sit in the sanctuary of light and love. We are surrounded by love. We live in a sphere of God consciousness always. And we recognize that in this moment as we sit in silent meditation. Good. And so with that, we are ready to have some music and bring our loving presence right here and now.
So I'm excited to share a new song that I wrote last week, and I think it's a combination of being here over the last few years, listening to some of Reverend Guy's talks, especially the Buddhist-leaning ones, and then Craig doing his poetry with Rumi and Hafez, some of those energies. I thought I'd try to take some of that acceptance energy and put it into a little club pop song. So this is called Sweet Uncertainty. Oh, it's been a day, it's kinda been that way, so I came to play sweet uncertainty. Time to leave behind, oh, my troubled mind. Who knows what I'll find? Sweet uncertainty. Then you're next to me, I hear that melody, oh, that energy. Sweet uncertainty. Let the music make you, oh, I wanna take you when you're next to me. Sweet uncertainty. Teach me. Picture perfect bliss, wish I could dream like this, and then a summer's kiss, sweet uncertainty. All the time you burn for the pain unearned, all the lessons learned, sweet uncertainty. Then you're next to me, I hear that melody, oh, that energy, sweet uncertainty. Let the music make you, oh, I wanna take you when you're next to me, sweet uncertainty. Every galaxy, all the universe, sweet uncertainty. Then you're next to me, I hear that melody, oh, that energy, sweet uncertainty. Let the music make you, oh, I wanna take you when you're next to me, sweet uncertainty. Teach me. It's kinda been that way, so I came to play sweet uncertainty. Time to leave behind all my troubled mind. Who knows what I'll find? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. New music. Please welcome the Dr. Reverend Guy Williams.
That's cool. Thank you. So good morning again, everybody. Get stuff organized here. There we go. I think it's just remarkable when people write songs. It really is. What an incredible talent. So our theme this month, kind of going right along with that, is is in search of the authentic self. So Dr. Holmes has this statement in the Science of Mind text, page 400 for those keeping score. And he says this, he says, conscious thought is the starting point of every new creation. Let's let that percolate in there and we'll unpack it for a little bit. Conscious thought is the starting point of all new creation. So, I've been a student of the science of mind and spirit for about 30 years. And I love our teaching. And I think that you could probably encapsulate the entire philosophy in that sentence. And then there would be appendixes to that. Because for the first one that I would have is this, is what do we mean by conscious thought? Two interesting words. And Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines conscious as awake. So it's an awakened thought. It's one that we are aware of. And a thought is a dialogue between the conscious and unconscious mind. So it's being aware of the dialogue that is going on in us, is the starting point of all new creation. However, a simple observation on the world in which we would live would note that there is a lot of creation that happens at the unconscious level. I'm a fan of science fiction, and there's this wonderful book called Eye on the Sparrow. It's really interesting because it's about these Jesuits that travel to another planet. And it's a really interesting story. But the bottom line of it is this. It's all about the law of unintended consequences. Boy, that seemed like a good idea until it started wavering and wobbling. We live in a world right now that is living at the effect of unintended consequences. And perhaps you yourself you made an investment in something, you decided to do something, you engaged in something, and it really seemed like such a good idea, and the thought was, what could go wrong? And then it did. Or perhaps I'm just preaching to myself this morning on that one. But here's the thought, is that we can say conscious thought is the starting point of every new creation, but the reality is thoughts are causative, conscious or not. The Buddhists have a great term. They talk about mental hygiene, which is really just being aware of what we're being aware of. So there's this fabulous book, was written several years ago. It's called The Myth of Disenchantment by Jason Josephson. And it's a really interesting book, and it's very salient for the moment that we're living in, because these guys, he and another guy, developed the idea of critical theory. And I know that there's a lot of thought right now about, like critical race theory. They've added a word in there. And this morning is not the time or place to have a conversation on the merits of critical race theory. But I would like to have a conversation about the idea of critical theory and what that actually means. Because what critical theory basically states is that everything is connected to something else. Everything about our life, if we distill it down, comes down to relationships. The very concept of science itself is a dialogue of relationships in the material world. Our life is not so much a unique expression, but the moment that we are living in is the summation of every thought, memory, dream, aspiration, desire that we have had or that someone else has had and we've accepted without thinking. We could almost say that conscious thought is the starting point of every new creation. And yet it's also the world that we live today, from where I observe, it's also on the verge of a zombie apocalypse. of things happening and people doing things and decisions being made that aren't conscious, aren't thinking, aren't awake. And really the desire to the whole direction of the authentic self is really about the capacity that we have to remain awake. Thinking of this, I'm reading this book of essays by Joan Didion in her book, The White Album, and it's a brilliant book, and she is just a remarkable writer. But she says something really interesting. She says, this is the opening line, it's probably the most famous thing that she wrote, where she says, we tell ourselves stories in order to live. We tell ourselves stories in order to live, to make sense of the world that we're around. And we are as human beings, story-making creatures. We just listen to whoever you are. Why am I just Lee? I'm sorry. I'm having a moment. Lee gave us a beautiful song, a story that he made up. But we're all telling ourselves stories about one thing or another. And that's the dialogue that goes on. And usually in those stories, we're making ourselves right about our beliefs. Because often what happens is something happens, and the story we say is, see, that's just how it is. Or see, I knew that was going to happen. Or see, I knew that person was that. Or whatever, fill in the blank. But we're often, we create a story and then we go on a hunt for evidence to confirm that story. That's not conscious. That's something else that's operating. And what critical theory would say is take that thought and look at its origin. What event? What series of events? What conversation? What did we hear? What did we overhear? How those things begin to form, because the reality is we have this whole facade of who we are that is based on a story that we kind of made up. In his book, New Seeds of Contemplation, Thomas Merton says this. He says, to be a saint means to be myself. But then he goes on to say this. He says, therefore, the problem of sanctity and salvation, funny words for a community such as ours, therefore, the problem of sanctity and salvation is in fact the problem of finding out who I am and discovering my true self. That true self. And that can be a lifelong journey, can it not? Finding out who we are, because we're always reflecting. And then we have this experience, or we have this insight, or something else is going on. I'm looking at that, I'm thinking about that a lot, because I'm just south of 70 years old. I have no idea how that happened. Talk about a story. It's an interesting story, because I used to say 70 is old. 70 is old. Now I'm having to reframe that, because my body still believes that story. And I'm wanting to teach it a new story about what that means. But nonetheless, we look for this experience of discovering our true self. And it really is, in many ways, a lifelong journey. And often in this journey, what frustrates us, or what frustrates me, is that we kind of want to have all the answers up front. How many times have you heard yourself say this? I can't count the times I've said it. When this happens, then I'll do that. As soon as this happens, man, then I'm going to get my act together. As soon as this happens, as soon as I earn this amount of money, then I'm going to do that. As soon as I lose this amount of weight, then I'm going to do this. As soon as I have this, I'm going to do that. On and on and on we go to our things. And in a sense, we're kind of playing this game where we're sort of wanting all the answers up front before we dare to move. Henri Nouwen says this. He says, often we want to be able to see into the future. We say, how will next year be for me? Where will I be in 5 years or 10 years from now? There are no answers to these questions. Mostly we have just enough light to see the next step. What we have to do in the coming hour of the following day, the art of living, is to enjoy what we can see and not complain about what remains in the dark. When we are able to take the next step with trust that we will have enough light for the step that follows, we can walk through life with joy and be surprised at how far we go. So it's all about just taking the next indicated step. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't set intentions. It doesn't mean that we don't visualize. It doesn't mean that we don't do all those things. But we remain agile and open to surprise. Because I don't know about you, but I know for myself, when the things that I've intended have come into fruition, they came into fruition in ways I had no idea they would. Has that ever happened to you? Ever happened to you? This is where I think our teaching has quite a lot of merit. Because we hold an intention, we visualize the intention, thoughts are causative, we do all those things, and yet we remain open to amazement and wonder and surprise, because the universe is far more creative than just me. I am a vehicle in which it operates. I am the eyes, I am the ears, I am the hands of a living and loving presence, as is each and every one of us. But it's this idea of being guided. I think about that too when we read whatever scripture, whatever reading that you hold as sacred, and it is sacred because we make it so, that in these stories and myths and legends, there's often the story of trust, follow. In the Hebrew Bible, the whole story begins, with the sense of us coming into our own being with Abraham. And what do we know about Abraham? Abraham is called out from what is familiar, his family, his lifestyle, all the things that were external that defined him. He was called from those things. And in a way that he would never have imagined, a promise was fulfilled and continues to fulfill itself according to that myth and legend. The same thing is true with the Bhagavad Gita, right? Because Krishna's instruction to Arjuna is to do your dharma, to do what is yours to do without being fixated on what the outcome is going to be. Or probably more familiar to each and every one of us is the stories in the Gospel of Jesus. And in Matthew, he goes to these very young, rowdy young men who are tradesmen, fishermen, and builders. And, if you think about that, the guys in the trades, that's who this character spoke to. And what does he say? Follow me. Follow me. Leave your nets. Leave the thing that defines you to the thing that goes on. Because in many ways, it's like the reading that Annie gave from Peter Kingsley. In his book, In the Dark Places, if I can reread that quote, he says this, He says, we think that it's we who are doing that are treading the path, progressing, being transformed. But that's not the case at all, because it's not our ego that walks the path. It's our higher self, the hidden divine reality inside us. It was never about us. It was always about the sacred. And here's the thing about that. I think what he's saying, what Holmes is alluding to, what critical theory is offering us to consider, is the ego is a really good thing to have. A healthy ego is important. It gets us up, gets us dressed in the morning. It gets us to do the things that we're supposed to do. It allows us to have relationships, allows us to navigate in the world. But we think that we're it. And therefore, what happens is the story that we tell ourselves about the world in which we live, we actually believe is true. And we form our lives around it. But what the mystics ask us to consider is that part of us that was never born, that could never die, that has never experienced pain or loss or sickness or even death. And that is the true self. As I say almost every Sunday, the truest thing about you, the truest thing about you is that you are the beloved. And with that thought, what can be created? And so how do we begin to engage in the beloved, the divine within us, as us, through us? I don't know if it can happen without any kind of spiritual practice. I don't. And for myself, again, like I said, I've been 30 years in this teaching, and before that I was in other teachings, and before that I was in whatever I was in, and who knows where I'm going to be in another 5 years. But this much I have come to find out about my prayer life is now it's listening. I believe, Meister Eckhart says, if there's one prayer, the one, kind of like you don't know what else to pray gratitude. Absolutely, absolutely. That will get you out of fascinating and interesting places. But I think it's also the practice of listening without an agenda. Jack Kornfield, in his book, A Path with a Heart, says that the essence of meditation is staying in your seat. He says, find a time, find a place, find a posture, and stay in your seat. Just listen and see what comes to you. And then it unravels. It's one thing, and then it's another thing, and it's another thing, and it's another thing. Sometimes I'm discovering that God wants to speak to me. Sometime between 3 and 4 in the morning is when it seems to happen. And it was like, I'll do my beads, I'll do this, I'll do that, yakety yak, yak, yak. And what hit me is just listen. Listen to the clock. Listen to the dogs make all their funny noises. Listen to the car in the distance, the motorcycle that goes by. Listen to the silence. Listen to the thoughts. Listen. 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 And then layer upon layer upon layer, something begins to happen. So, that's my invitation to each and every one of us then is to do that. Eden Philpott says this. He says, the universe is full of magical things patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper. The universe is full of magical and interesting things. As William Blake says, when the doors of perception are clear, we shall see all things as they are. Divine. When we stop identifying ourselves as our story and finding evidence to confirm the story so that we can get to be right, if we can let go of that and just stay in our seat and begin to listen, that story falls by the wayside. It is when we're quiet that we're most awake. And when we are awake, we are conscious. And when we are conscious, we are at choice. And when we're at choice, we direct that conscious thought into the creative medium, and remarkable and wonderful things happen. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thanks always, Rev. Refreshing words. Let's sing along again.
We let love wash over us. We let it be. We let love wash over us. We let it be. We let light. We let light wash over us. We let it be. We let hope. We let hope wash over us. We let it be. We let peace. We let peace wash over us. We let it be. We let now. We let now wash over us. We let it be. We let love. We let love wash over us. We let it be. One more time all together. We let love wash over us. We let it be. So beautiful, everybody.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Rev Guy. So we're in our time of conscious giving. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for all that you do and all that you give. Your loving heart of spirit and goodness is always shining through. So as we give with that consciousness of supporting Hilltop, supporting all the ministries that go on here, the minister, the prayer ministry, the staff, and our outreach program, and all these people who are doing so much to expand the good and to share it, because that is really key in service, is to give up ourselves for others. It's a precious thing. It's a very precious thing. So I am grateful for all that you do and all that you give, and thank you for your gift today. You hold it to your heart. You breathe in this. May this gift expand exponentially. May I know and feel it's good, and may it go far and wide. Thank you for your gifts.
So I again want to thank each of you for being here today, and those of you in the virtual world, I want to thank you for watching today or whatever day you're watching. You are part of our community. You are in the heart of the Hilltop Spiritual Center. I'm just grateful that you're there and you're here with us, however that says. But you're here, and I'm grateful for you that are here. And Jeff, thank you for stepping up this morning. You and Paul came in as Steve is in Mexico, so they're stepping in. And by the way, if learning sound is something that you want to do, we would love to have more people on the sound team. But thank you guys for making us sound good. And Lee and Jim, always thank you. Who were the greeters this morning? Thanks, guys, wherever you were. Chris was? And Noreen, you were a greeter today. And you need more greeters. We want more greeters. Yeah. It's a fun job. You're the first face we meet. So thank you for that. I know that it looked like Ann and Kurt and Andra are in the kitchen whipping up something new and interesting and fun. So we want to thank them in advance for that. And Mark for coming in and tuning things up for it. Thank you for that. And so anybody else and everybody else, if I've forgotten you, it's only because I don't know why it is. Just because I'm old. Just because I'm old. I'm going to use that from now on. So Annie, just when you say something and you ask me to do something for the third time, I'm going to answer, I'm old. And ask the community. They'll tell you that's true.
Just another story.
Just another story. It's another story, yeah. It works until it doesn't.
Yeah. Convenient.
Convenient until it isn't. So thank you all for being here. Let us pray away. And please stay for a few minutes. I'd love to chat with each of you. If this is your first time, I'd love to get to meet you. But again, let us pray. And I go back to this all the time. Emerson, where he says prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine the highest and the best. And if the highest and the best is bigger than the story, then let go of the story. Let us place our hearts, our minds, our consciousness, our awakeness on that those words of Teilhard de Chardin, that we are evolution become intentional. We are an idea in the mind of God moving through time and space. We're the activity of evolution itself. And may we be conscious. Maybe we be conscious and aware and awake to the fact that we are connected to a living planet and that every living being is connected to us and we are connected to that. There is only one living beingness, and it reveals itself in every aspect of creation. And that each of us is unique and special. We are the beloved. And this community is the beloved. And so may our day be blessed, may it be filled with amazement and wonder and awe. May each of us today and tomorrow and the day after that be surprised by something to remind us of this vast, loving experience that we call life. And how easy it is just to breathe in gratitude for that, letting it be. And so it is.
So here's a little, one of my originals that's a sing-along as well. It just goes, most of you know this one. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. It's not clear, but I'm just like you. Yeah, I've been over here pointing fingers too. But if you want change, you gotta do what's good. Gotta carry that water, chop that wood. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood and carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood and carry that water. Yes, we do. part of this earth. Step by step I'm gonna add some worth. We could feel afraid but you can't deny it. We feel at ease when we help each other try it. If you want change you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood and carry that water. Here's another sing-along part that we say, because we're all together. Cause we're all together. Yes we are. Sing we're all together. No matter where you're coming from. I said we're all together. Yes we are. We're all together. Get together and sing these songs, but it's gonna take more to right these wrongs. Gonna know my history, gonna do someone a favor, treat myself better and trust my neighbor. If you want change you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood and carry that water. Yeah. Because we're all together. Yes we are. Sing we're all together. Even though it sounds pretty cheesy, it's true. Yes, we're all together. No matter where you're coming from, we're all together. Happy Sunday, everybody. Don't you forget it. We'll remind you next week.